Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be talking about how I changed after living in Barcelona for 12 years. Spanish people are sun people, as we call them in our family. Here they are more relaxed, you can definitely feel that in the atmosphere. They're more open, therefore after living here for so many years I'm pretty much used to saying hi whenever I walk into an enclosed space like a doctor's waiting room, for example, and yeah, just saying hi and smiling politely to strangers. Just walking around the street or walking into a supermarket, even if it's some people that I don't know. Complimenting others. Calling each other beautiful or dear is a normal occurrence. Even in the supermarket, it's normal if the cashier lady calls you guapa or cariño when talking to you. The first time it happened to me, I was in kind of a little bit of a shock, I guess, and I felt flattered, but then I realized it's something that people do a lot here, so I got used to it and I actually started doing it myself. Many times while texting my girlfriends I say hola guapa, hola bonita when I say hi to them. All the shopping needs to be done on Friday or Saturday. Big supermarkets, as well as most shops in general, close on Sunday, and only smaller supermarkets are open 24/7. There the options are a little bit limited in terms of like fresh fruit or vegetables. However, it's very nice if you just need to buy some basics like water or shampoo, for example. At first I found that inconvenient, I guess, but then I realized that the reason for that is that Spanish people tend to spend their Sundays with their families. Now I actually think it's something nice knowing that you have at least that specific day for relaxing and seeing your family no matter what. Holidays in August. August is seen as a holiday month for most people. A lot of businesses actually close up for the whole month or at least have reduced hours. Therefore, in the city you will see a lot of "we'll be back in September" or "cerrado por vacaciones" type of notes on shop doors. So in August I definitely recommend you to check the schedule of the establishment you want to visit or go to beforehand, just in case they do close. Mix of Spanish and Catalan. Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia, one of the autonomous communities of Spain. If you don't know Spanish or you just started learning it and you decided to visit Barcelona, please keep in mind that a lot of things around you in the city will be actually written in Catalan, which can be confusing at first. Street names, product names, names of some establishments. It also actually affects how people speak here. Even when speaking Spanish, a lot of people still would say merci instead of gracias, or just say deu, which is short for adeu, which means goodbye in Catalan, instead of saying adios. Actually, when I moved here for a couple of months, I was sure that avinguda, as in avinguda diagonal, was actually Spanish. Slower pace of life. Compared to my home country, where people become independent and get married quite early in life, here the pace of life is a little bit different. I feel like people don't rush here, they take their time getting education, gaining experience, and therefore it's something normal to see someone in their 30s still living with their family. Economy is obviously one of the reasons, but I also believe that here people don't feel pressured into deciding and figuring out their whole life early on. It was actually a welcome thing because I have the same mentality and I feel more understood here because of that. It is a little bit harder to understand for my family though. Quite a few people from my school in my home country are actually happily married and some of them already have kids. Even though we're the same age, it looks like we're kind of living different lives, which is completely fine honestly, because everyone has their own path, their own journey. I just believe it's a very interesting cultural difference. Usted culture. When you learn Spanish, you learn that usted is the polite form of saying you. Therefore, you learn that you need to use it when you talk to strangers, teachers, officials, and older people. In reality, a lot of people will actually ask you not to use it when talking to them. For me, in my home culture, it's very important to use formal speech to show respect to others. Here, however, unless you're in a very specific formal context, like in a governmental institution, people will actually ask you to talk to them using tú. It was actually a big culture shock for me when I came to high school here, because my teacher would actually get offended if I referred to them as usted, saying that they felt old when I did that. To me, however, I felt like I was disrespecting them. It was very hard to overcome. I guess it depends on school, but in my high school, teachers would joke around with students and actually would use curse words sometimes. It was easier in university because by that time I got used to that, but still to this day I keep my habit, and firstly I refer to people as usted and I only change to tú when they ask me to. For me personally, I believe it's kind of like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, You can speak freely to someone who may be older than you, and actually it can make the relationship a little bit more friendly in a way. However, in a formal context, like in education institution, I believe respect should be held between teachers and students. Late dinners. In my home country, we're used to having dinners pretty early, around 6-7 p.m. The earliest Spanish people have dinners is around 8:30 p.m. However, restaurants usually open around 8 p.m. and you're lucky if the restaurant opens at 7:30. But you probably won't see many Spanish people coming in at that hour. At 9 p.m. they'll probably start appearing, and then at 10 is when the restaurants are the busiest. Many times while walking home around 11 p.m. I can still see a lot of people having dinners, especially in summer. Pickpockets versus feeling safe. Barcelona is known for having a lot of pickpockets, and they're especially active in the tourist seasons like summer. Because of that, always making sure that your bag is with you is a must. Always keep an eye on your belongings, especially your phone and your watches, and make sure no one gets too close to you when you're in crowded places. Although pickpocketing is a very big problem, I've never actually felt unsafe living here. Of course, crimes can happen and they do happen, however, most of the times they're not violent. Ever since I moved here, I've never felt unsafe coming home alone or coming home late at night. There are obviously always exceptions and anything can happen, so you need to be always cautious. However, comparing to other big cities, I believe Barcelona in that regard is pretty safe. Mañana concept is real. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Mañana stereotype before, but it's basically a joke that suggests that in Spain things will get done tomorrow, mañana, instead of immediately. And many times it's not actually a joke. The Spanish bureaucracy is actually known for being slow and inefficient. There's lots of paperwork, and in many offices they will require your in-person visits for things that could probably be done online. Apart from that, wait time for appointments can be pretty long. The mañana joke actually extends beyond the paperwork, deliveries, repairman. It's pretty common when you're expecting a visit from a repairman and he says, "I'll come by tomorrow morning," and tomorrow morning can actually mean from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I believe one of the reasons for that is that there's probably more tolerance towards a flexible time, and there is a stronger value on social interactions over rigid schedules. I believe it's kind of like, don't stress about it too much, it will get done, you just don't know when exactly. Of course, when it has to do something with important documents, this type of mentality can be pretty frustrating. Hopefully this video was insightful and interesting for you. Even though some of the facts that I've talked about probably will seem obvious or normal to some people, I believe that not everyone is familiar with the Spanish culture and what it is like living in Spain. Therefore, even there's at least one fact that you didn't know about and you got to learn because of this video, I'm more than satisfied, honestly. Thank you everyone who watched this video. I appreciate every single view and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!